On a special edition of World News, a nation collapsed. Tens of thousands feared dead in Haiti after the most violent earthquake there in 2 centuries. Rescuers struggle to find survivors buried under flattened buildings. Desperate need prompts global relief. We're on the ground in Haiti and we'll talk with former President Clinton, now a United Nations special envoy. Tonight, earthquake in Haiti.
From the global resources of ABC News, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer. Reporting tonight, George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening. The president of Haiti said today that his country is destroyed. Here are the words being used to describe the earthquake's impact: unimaginable, catastrophic, and collapse. As in hospitals, schools, prisons, even the presidential palace collapsed. Tens, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in a nation already racked by poverty. Power, food, and water all in short supply. The Red Cross has run out of medicine. The 7.0 magnitude earthquake, Haiti's worst in 240 years, hit hardest in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Nearly 3.5 million people live in the affected areas, many in tin shacks on unstable hillsides, where they huddled all night long in prayer. One relief worker sent an email that said simply, SOS, please help us. This tiny Caribbean nation has suddenly become the center of the world. As one Haitian wrote, some countries are just not lucky. We begin there tonight with Dan Harris.
George, good evening from a shattered city in a country that just cannot catch a break. We landed a short while ago here at the main airport in the capital city of Port-au-Prince, where aid supplies are now starting to arrive. It is hard to describe the devastation.
It is a catastrophe. It is terrible. The access to Port-au-Prince now is impossible by car. So the whole city is in panic.
When the earthquake hit at 4:53 p.m. yesterday, it was just before dark on this island nation. With electricity out in most of the city, search and rescue has been nearly impossible.
The magnitude was just immense. A lot of search and rescue is going to need to be done by hand.
We need more people down here.
At the United Nations headquarters, a glimmer of good news. But scores of people are still missing and more than a dozen UN workers are dead. First responders of any kind have been practically non-existent here. And the government itself was decimated by the earthquake. The presidential palace, which once looked like this, is now destroyed, along with the parliament and the penitentiary. Roads are simply impossible.
In Haiti, many buildings are protected by very high walls that are often made of bricks or cement or stones. And at least half of them were total rubble.
The Archbishop of Haiti was one of the thousands lost. He was killed in his office. A combination of factors made this earthquake so devastating. First, it was large, 7.0, and it was shallow, just 6 miles deep, which made the shaking worse. Finally, it hit an area with high concentrations of people in poorly constructed homes.
Port-au-Prince is a very mountainous city, and a lot of these folks had shelter in the heart of the town. People have just gathered up their belongings and just heading up the mountains, hoping to find safer ground.
So far, there are no reports of looting. What relief workers there are under siege. Salvation Army worker Bob Poff, one of the 45,000 Americans here in Haiti, spent the night trying to help.
Here, in the middle of the devastation and the sadness, and behind me, of all things, houses burning. If it wasn't bad enough for the earthquake, now they're burning, and people are losing everything they have, and it's so sad.
Today, he told us the work ahead for the aid groups is astounding.
We're in this for the long, long haul. We're going to take care of today and tomorrow and next week, but we're also going to be here next month and next year.
Back here at the main airport in Port-au-Prince, where, as we said, the aid supplies are starting to arrive, but it's unclear whether they will be able to meet the stunningly large need here tonight. This is a country that is largely devoid of basic services right now, which means no power, no running water in many places, and as the sun goes down, I fear we are headed into another long night. George?
Okay, Dan Harris, thanks. One American who rode out the earthquake while standing inside the U.S. Embassy said it felt like a ride in an old jalopy over a road full of potholes. Along with the tragic stories of death and destruction, there are incredible stories of survival. Kate Snow is also in Haiti.
When the ground began to shake, 24-year-old American aid worker Jillian Thorpe was buried in an avalanche of concrete and steel, trapped with a co-worker in the basement of their church charity, but very much alive. Somehow she managed to call her husband Frank. 100 miles away, Frank jumped in his car and drove as fast as he could. He arrived just in time. Jillian's hand was barely sticking out of the rubble. He described what he saw to CBS.
I jumped into the hole and I was able to see her wave her hand. I couldn't see her whole body. She was just waving and I could hear her voice. And it was, I mean, you know, I couldn't hold it together, but all she was saying is just hold it together, just get me out of here.
Frank started digging by hand, brick by brick. An hour later, he pulled Jillian free, bruised and battered, but safe. Back in Connecticut, Jillian's father showed us video of her dancing with Haitian orphans. He says the family feels blessed.
He lifted her out of the wreckage. So it's a big thing, and they're an amazing couple of people.
Amazing stories are not hard to find here. Their medical facilities severely damaged. Doctors Without Borders set up trauma centers in parking lots and on lawns, treated hundreds of patients, many with broken bones and burns from cooking gas containers that exploded during the earthquake.
The reality of what we're seeing is severe traumas, head wounds, crushed limbs.
The Red Cross has been helping Haitians for decades here, but today their office is in ruins. They improvised, tending to their own wounded as well as the communities.
We've spent all day and night in the streets, just trying to give assistance. Entire mountainsides of communities have come down and collapsed.
There are so many incredible stories we're finding here. Look at this truck buried in a sand pit behind me. The sand came tumbling down. There were 3 trucks working. A 36-year-old father of 5 is buried in here as well. One of Haiti's top ministers today urged solidarity, urged those who survived to help the victims and help in the searches. George?
My goodness, Kate Snow in Haiti. Also, President Obama promised a swift, coordinated, and aggressive effort to save lives in Haiti, calling this a time when we are reminded of the common humanity that we all share. It will be a massive military and humanitarian effort. Martha Raddatz and Dr. Richard Besser join us now from the Dominican Republic. And Martha, let me begin with you. The president said the entire government's going to be working on this response, but the military is taking the lead.
The military is taking the lead, George, and right now the Navy is really taking the lead on this. An aircraft carrier, the USS Carl Vinson, had just left Norfolk, Virginia. It was supposed to go home to its port in San Diego, but instead it is headed for Florida, for Mayport, Florida, and a helicopter squadron will be placed on that carrier and heading to Haiti. Also, the U.S. Navy ship Comfort, the hospital, will probably leave port in Baltimore soon to also head for Haiti. A couple of Coast Guard cutters are also in port in Haiti. But right now, most of what they're doing is assessment, seeing what more they need, whether they can bring the Army in on this and how many people they can get there and how fast.
And Rich, you headed the Center for Disease Control's response during Hurricane Katrina. What are the first things that first responders have to do when they hit the ground?
Well, basically you have about 36 hours if you're going to have impact in terms of those people who have been crushed and have the most severe injuries. They have to be found, so search and rescue is absolutely critical, and they need access to high quality medical care. That's something that didn't exist in Haiti before this earthquake and clearly doesn't exist now. So evacuation and setting up makeshift hospitals is going to be very important. We're now more than 26 hours into this, and that doesn't leave a lot of time for saving those people who are most critically injured.
Okay, Rich and Martha, thanks very much. We'll come back to you later in the broadcast. Here at home, there is anxious concern for those estimated 45,000 Americans who live and work in Haiti, many of them connected to humanitarian missions. That anxiety matched by Haitians living in this country who are desperate for word about loved ones at home. David Muir is in the Flatbush section of Brooklyn tonight, home to 100,000 Haitians. David?
And George, as you know, more than 24 hours, well more than 24 now, since news of this massive earthquake broke. And the vast majority of the Haitian Americans living here still have not been able to make contact with their family. Their only connection, a small radio station here that somehow was able to pick up a signal from a radio station in Haiti. With cell phones to their ears, desperate family members are trying to get through to Haiti. Nothing but busy signals or no signal at all. Late this afternoon, this woman finally got word. She was told her father-in-law is dead, and she is still waiting for word on the rest of her family.
My mother is in Haiti, just go to Haiti. Oh.
For so many of these relatives, the one lifeline to Port-au-Prince is this tiny radio station in Brooklyn, New York, where at the end of the hallway we found the lone radio operator inundated with calls.
This is Rico.
He's been broadcasting one of the few radio stations still operating in Haiti. And listeners are now calling him, asking, can he help find out about their loved ones back home? Have you been able to contact anyone in Haiti?
I was in line with somebody in Haiti for about 2.5 minutes, and then we got cut off.
One caller asked about her blind mother back in Haiti, living alone. Someone there promised they would go check. In Haitian communities across this country, the same excruciating wait. Our Lisa Stark found this father in Miami, waiting for word on his wife and 3 young children.
In God's hand, that's it.
They're in God's hands?
Yes. There's nothing I can do.
And there is little this radio operator can do too, still waiting to hear back about that caller's blind mother. This was hours ago and we haven't heard back.
We haven't heard back.
The same story playing out in Haitian communities across this country, from Miami to New York, as you saw there, George. And I can tell you from spending the day here, you can really read the pain on the faces of the people who are trying to connect still with their cell phones in hand, and they've been unable to do so.
So much heartache out there. David Muir, thanks very much. If you want to help the earthquake relief effort, we've put together a list of some aid organizations lending a hand in Haiti. That's at our website, abcnews.com. Still ahead on World News, we're joined live by former President Bill Clinton, now special UN envoy to Haiti. He has the latest on how they'll respond to the crisis. And lending a hand, how Americans are finding ways to help Haiti.
This is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer, brought to you by Thermacare Heat Wraps.
And joining us now is former President Bill Clinton, now the UN Special Envoy to Haiti. Welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you, George.
I know you've been in contact with those on the ground in Haiti since the earthquake hit yesterday at the UN all day today. Can you start out by giving us some sense of the scale of the tragedy? Earlier today, Secretary Clinton called it biblical.
Well, I think that's a good word. It appears that 3 million people may need some kind of aid. That's about just almost a third of the country. So that'll give you some idea. That the tragic thing is we have no idea how many people have died. We're still having people work through the rubble, and the places you would normally look to can't provide it. I mean, the presidential palace was damaged, the legislative chamber was damaged, not all the legislators have been accounted for, some of the cabinet members are still missing. And of course our UN hotel, as you know, 5 stories, completely collapsed. And to date, only 10 people have been recovered alive, so we have no idea about that.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. I was talking to an administration official just moments ago who said this may be one of the most devastating tragedies ever to hit the United Nations.
Oh yeah, I think that it's highly likely to be the highest mortality count we've ever had. And we have a woman down there, Kim Bolduc, who was also in the building in Iraq when it was bombed and Sergio de Mello was killed. We lost 19 people there. I think the mortality rate here could be far, far higher than that.
So how do you get your arms around this problem right now? Basically, you're talking about rebuilding an entire country.
Well, you are, but I think, keep in mind, we do know what to do. First, I would say the Secretary General of the UN and all the associated agencies have done a great job. Mr. Anabi's predecessor has agreed to go back down there, the Deputy Secretary of the UN, and he's going to do fine. And we'll have this thing organized in a day or so. The trick is going to be to find as many people while they're still alive and can be kept alive as possible. And then I think that I want to say that I think the federal government, from the President, the Secretary of State, and the aid director, and the defense people on down, have been great. We need more helicopters here to deal with the fact that a lot of the roads are impassable. We're going to have to move some earth-moving equipment. We may have to bring in some floating power generators, but we're getting there. The number one thing we have to do for the next few days is concentrate on the basics.
And after those few days, Mr. President, I know you've been to Haiti a couple of times already as the UN Special Envoy. Will you be going back?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd be back there tonight if I think I'm doing more good here, staying on the phone trying to help solve problems. We basically need now food, water, shelter, and medical supplies. We identified some places for large numbers of people to seek shelter today. But if anyone wants to help now, not 2 weeks from now, a month from now, we'll need lots of rebuilding help, lots of volunteer help. But now, unless you're in a search and rescue team or a medical team, the best thing you can do is give money for food, water, shelter, and first aid supplies. Those are the things we need. And we set up a website for the UN at clintonfoundation.org/Haiti earthquake. You can text Haiti at 2022. Send a text message. $10 will be forwarded to it. We'll move that money in a hurry. But everybody, this is one of those things where $5 can make a difference, because we've even got really skilled medical teams that right now don't have sufficient aspirin. So this is a basic thing. We got to get into those buildings, dig them out, find the living, and then go back to work.
Money matters right now. Mr. President, thanks very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, George.
We'll be right back. Moving to the day's other news, executives of 4 powerful banks were summoned to Washington today, facing tough questions about the financial crisis and big Wall Street bonuses. While all the bank leaders admitted mistakes were made, Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, was defiant about bonuses, saying, "I believe our compensation practices have been and remain appropriate." John Carl caught up with the bankers outside the hearing.
Just one last thing. Does Wall Street get it? I mean, you heard the president suggest that you guys don't get it. You don't understand the anger of taxpayers, people suffering with high unemployment rate. So the big bonuses and people getting laid off, I mean, you don't see a disconnect there?
I think that we're very sensitive to all those areas.
Where's the accountability?
Well, people lost jobs, people have paid back TARP money with interest.
Thanks, fellas. But the big bonuses that we're now seeing from the same companies that got the TARP money, how do you explain that?
Comment on my bonus. You know what my bonus is?
I know your bonus is none, but what about other executives at your company?
You got to deal with them, and I'll deal with them. So,
well, you're the chairman. You're the one approving the bonuses.
Executives hailing a cab today. Also in Washington, the Obama administration is weighing in on the trouble between Google and China. The world's biggest search engine is threatening to pull out of China because of cyber attacks and government censorship there. Now, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says the Chinese government owes Google and the U.S. an explanation. And there are some encouraging signs that America's exploding obesity epidemic might be leveling off. New numbers today from the CDC show the rate of obesity stabilizing, with 34% of adults and 17% of children considered obese. One health expert says while the finding is good news, the statistics are still staggering. Still ahead, generous Americans quick to respond to the earthquake in Haiti. Relief efforts for Haiti are being mobilized across the country and around the world. Some involve governments, huge organizations, and hundreds of millions of dollars. Callers to a special cell phone number set up by the State Department contributed over $800,000 in less than 20 hours. And they're joined by your friends and neighbors reaching out in a more personal way. David Wright has their story.
They got the call at 8 o'clock last night and dropped everything.
Called my son and asked him to have my bags brought up from the basement and pulled in and threw them in the car, and off we went.
70 firefighters from Fairfax, Virginia, and their sniffer dogs today at Dulles Airport, ready to go.
Have you had any sleep at all?
Not yet. Just cat naps here and there.
This team specializes in urban search and rescue. They've been to Haiti before. In 2008, when an elementary school collapsed, it was their job to hunt for survivors.
That's one building. This appears to be much different, widespread.
This is just one of dozens of relief teams headed to Port-au-Prince from around the world. But even once they get there, the challenges are enormous.
But across America, plenty of people are stepping up. In Houston, Texas, they brought supplies in plastic bags to church.
I bought some clothes, I bought some shoes, and some blankets.
This is hardly an affluent community, but they know how much help is needed.
People like that right now, they go through more stuff than we do. Basically, we blessed, and those people are hurting bad.
Haiti was already high on the list of countries needing assistance. So in Clayton, North Carolina, this was an anxious day for the pastor of Horn United Methodist Church. A mission from the church headed to Haiti just last weekend.
We know that they were on the bus when the earthquake struck.
Finally, this afternoon, an email with good news. The congregation's prayers had been answered.
The team is okay, no injuries. They spent the night on the ground sleeping with everybody else that had lost their homes.
A mission of mercy in a place that needs it now more than ever. David Wright, ABC News, Washington.
For many of you around the country, this special edition of World News will continue, so please stay with us. You should know Diane Sawyer is on her way from Afghanistan to the quake zone, where she'll anchor tomorrow. For those of you leaving us now, for Diane and all of us here at ABC News, have a good night.